Peace and blessings, family. This is your brother, asarimhotep, with the Martin Delaney Center for Egyptology. And today is Sunday, September the 11th. And pouring out libations, for those who lost their life on this day back in 2001 here in the United States. And so we'll do that now. Okay. And I want to thank each and every one of you for the conversation. And today we're going to discuss the etymology of the word HOTEP, or how we say in colloquial Egyptological speech, HOTEP, and go a little bit about the history and what it is. And, hopefully everybody will walk away with some knowledge about this very important term. So all that and more when we return in just a moment. And we are back. And we are asarimhotep with the Martin Delaney Center for Egyptology. And today I am in Pottstown, PA. And I'm in the back of these apartments. Y'all can't see the apartments this way, but there's like I'm in a gazebo and like a little lake. So if you hear some like water sprouting or whatnot, hopefully it's not too bad in the background. So I made sure that I brung my good mic with me outside. Just it was raining out and read for a little bit, and decided to do the show out here while I'm reading. So, as always, I like to give a shout out to those of you who are catching the live and have made themselves known in the chat. So first and foremost, I'd like to shout out Emmanuel Adama, who was in the building. Black, I don't know if you pronounce it Inu or if it's an acronym, INNU. But regardless, Brother Mathis is in the building. Tony Mason and Sister Tamika One is in the building. Sister Sylvia Stewart is in the building. Thank you for joining us. D Jot is in the building. Greetings to you. Brother Kofi Pasai Research Team and author and publisher and allegedly a producer. People are sleeping on my bars, so people don't think I can rap and I got bars. So I'm gonna need you to create a beat so I can take over the industry, or whatnot. Because people sleeping on my flow. So peace and shout out to you, Musa Nkele. I still know how to pronounce it. That's that South African Zuka sound that I just pronounce it. So I'm gonna work for the end of this year. I'm gonna get me my South African phonology down pat. And Infinite Minds is in the building. Edward Nigma 9 by 9 is in the building. Brother Dejed M. Ankh Hekara is in the building. Peace to you. Kato and Teti Ursima Atra Seneferu and Brother Wujawu is in the building. And Jehuti Ma'at and Visa Nicola Gula or Gullah. Sister Emiket is in the building. And Brother Kofi said he got me. So, we about to drop this EP on y'all. And, for everybody that been sleeping on my bars lately, y'all gonna be singing a different tune. So thank each and every one of you for joining the program. And we are live today on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. So shout out to all the Twitter. For some reason it doesn't come back in this chat, so I do apologize for that. But I will try to go back and see if there's any comments via the Twitter. VC is in the building, all the way from Clinton, Texas. Thank you for coming out, and we're gonna have a good day. So, a quick announcement before I get started, and that is, of course, that I am one step closer to publication of my new text, which is called Race and Identity in Ancient Egypt, Volume 1, Towards a Meaning for the Place Name Kemet. And y'all know I've been arguing with people for 2 decades now on this particular term. And so this text here represents the culmination of essentially 20 plus years of research in this particular topic. And it is going to be a 3-part series. So the grander issue is on race and identity in ancient Egypt, but the first volume will deal with the etymology of the place name Kemet. And so I have with me my first, this is an unedited draft copy. I just like to get my drafts or my first copies so I know what it looks like in book form. And so, I can adjust some things. So I'm going through it now, about halfway through, and just doing, my first read through in terms of obvious stuff that I need to edit. And the editor will be looking at it soon. But there's some other folks, some other scholars who will be looking to me their feedback. Hopefully by March of 2023, this mug will be in your hands, and you too will be able to argue successfully with Negroes on the internet and scholars alike on the meaning and etymology of the word Kemet and all of the other issues surrounding the text. So I'm very proud of this text. There's going to be, even if you've read some of my earlier arguments, some things may be adjusted, but there's a lot of new information that it's not a rehashing of some earlier text. So, just be on the lookout when you see it. And shout out to Amar Berry, who's in the building. And I think that's everybody. So that's only the new person. All right. So, yeah, Brother Kofi, if you driving, you can't be driving and texting. He probably typing at the stoplight. That's what I do. When it comes to a stoplight, then I'll text somebody back. But then I'll be taking too much time, so people be honking at me to move forward. So forget them. are going to get started now. So let me remove that. And so we're going to get into presentation mode. So let me go save that for a second and share my entire screen. And let me know if you can see everything clear screen so that y'all can see everything that need to be seen. So, and I'm gonna try to be able to check the comments, right? So, uh, here we go. So, as stated earlier, the nature of today's conversation is on the etymology of the Egyptian word HOTEP. But y'all let me know if the noise in the background is overpowering. Is it really distracting? Please let me know in the chat. So let me just get started. And of course, if you want to support this channel, you can do so by joining the Patreon, and that is patreon.com/asarimhotep. And I know I haven't been on like last month, but I'm back and I'm posting some things, and soon there'll be some new interviews there for my Patreons, because they always gets first dibs on any kind of info and interviews that we have. So, and continue supporting, any new subscribers and the like. Make sure that you join the Patreon page. And so, what you see here is what we call a triliteral hieroglyph, and that is a hieroglyph that represents three consonants in sequence. So this is the Gardner list sign R4. And what this is an abstract picture of the uh, an abstract picture of the kind of a floor mat with a bread or egg on top, representing, in general food, right? So, and remember that the ancient Egyptians did not write out their vowels, uh, save for the Coptic stage of the language. So, what you see right here, the dotted H, the letter T, and the letter P, is the three consonants in sequence that we generally say HOTEP. And that's really kind of from when people say HOTEP, that's really kind of from the Coptic, which has it as HOTEP or HOTEP, HOTP. There's no vowel in between the T and the P, and or HATP. So I know, many of you have heard of the word HOTEP, but used in a pejorative, in a negative sense. And, this is part of the efforts of, those individuals who belong to a thought in their attempt to make the word HOTEP a byword or a euphemism. And so you'll see memes like this, and where how should I say, I don't know where they got this hat from, but they'll always put this hat on top of something, and on someone, and then they'll try to say that, someone is a quote unquote HOTEP, but they don't know what the name means and how it is used. And we're going to restore the proper understanding of the term, and how it is used, in the actual ancient Egyptian literature. So this is, a what we call a HOTEP slab, right? So you will see these kind of stone slab offering tables all throughout its history. It'll have writing and it'll have pictures of food and wine and jars and the like. And many times they would actually do ritual on these slabs here, and which I don't know why they call it a slab. It should be technically an altar. Uh, and keeping everything in its African context, it should be technically an altar. And so here's just another an offering table that you will see coming out of the Middle Kingdom. And here's a few words or variations of the word Hotep in the language of ancient Egyptian throughout all its different time periods, and the Wartabush or the Ermin and Grappa Wartabush source, which you can see in the reference column on the far right. And so, Hotep is used in the phrase Hotep Her Mu, someone being devoted to. Hotep di Nesut, the funerary offerings, which literally is the offering given to the king. And then you have Hotep, the name of the blessed dead or the ancestors. The ancestors are called Hotep. And we'll see why that makes sense in a bit. Sahatepi, which is an incense censer or burner or whatnot. Sihatepi again, which is a title of Osiris. The same word, Sahotep, with the is an offering table, or Sahatep is a wild catch. Sahotep again is the name of incense, and Debit Het Hotep, food needs. And so you can see these variations here. So, Imhotep is, and then Hotep Yetin, until sunset, until sundown. Sahetep, bread. And you can read what's on the left. I'll just read the meaning. So you have to satisfy, food box, resting place, divine sacrifice or God sacrifice, an excrement, the lady of Uraeus, peaceable, gracious, merciful of God, Hotepi. So there's various words, and they're not all the same. Hotepi furniture. There's also a priest, Hotepi. Hotep Tiu brings sacrifice and vegetables, peace, offering table again, food, station, stop, procession, bread again, measure, part of the Itiru or the river. A priestess can be called Hotep or Hotepet in the feminine. So also referred to a woman's genitals. And speaking of peace, especially a lot of brothers been spending all their adult life trying to get a piece of the peace of a woman. The ancient Egyptians was on that as well. So then we have Hotepwi is satisfied with, and Hotepu also stands for good weather. So every time you are in some good weather, just say Hotepu. It's Hotepwi, right? Then we have, of course, blood, grace, basket, sacrifice, and it could be also an evil plot, downfall, setting of the sun, pacified, satisfied. There's many different variations of this word, and some of them are just homographs and have nothing with them. But these are just some things that you need to be aware of, right? And so we're going to primarily just only deal with two of these various meanings, and there are actually more. So that's just what is in the Wartabush, not what's in Vigus or Hanning and other dictionaries. And so just for the sake of time, I didn't want to go through that. But that's for you to, when you kind of review this tape, and you're just jotting down, and when you can slow it down to your own, right? So when when many of us who are African centered and are grounded in African cultures, we greet each other in various ways. And one of the more popular ways to greet one another is HOTEP, right? And but HOTEP, is kind of a shortened variation of a full greeting. So when we say HOTEP, is really iti or iwi imhotep. And so those words together means welcome in peace. And so here's a variation here from the coffin text, and it says, "Welcome in peace, the equipped Ak," or the Orisha. So if you have my latest book that on ciLuba Maweja, Yoruba Orisha, and Ancient Egyptian Ak, that's this word here is Orisha. This is equivalent to the Yoruba word Orisha. So and this word here, deper, haper, means to equip or be equipped. And I'm still trying to figure out a better definition for this term. And I plan to do a linguistic assessment on that term, because the way that just sounds, it just don't sound right. It's not, it doesn't have that African context. And so we need to look at it. But this full phrase here is welcome in peace, the equipped Orisha, right? And so the word iti that you see here, the yiti, is the primary root is this word here, ye, meaning to come. And we can find this in the ciLuba Bantu of the Democratic Republic of Congo as iya, to come. And a variant of this word is iwi, to come. And in ciLuba, you say wa, to come, or voir, come, arrive, become, right? And so when you're greeting somebody, you're welcoming them, you're saying to come in peace. But I'm going to show you that even this word HOTEP, when we're saying peace, in this context, it really is not accurate. It is, but it isn't. And we'll see why in a moment. And so this is from the tomb of Chechech, and I stole this from Brother Ujawu. So shout out to Brother Ujawu. Visit the Sesh Meta Netra page, and he has a whole article on HOTEP. And some of the citations actually comes from me, from Aluja Volume 1, and so we'll be repeating some of that data here. But so he has done that legwork to find some examples, in the primary text. So we have this translation here from this study. So this is what you see here in the yellow, coming up to this part of the text right here, and is Jadet 2 Nf Iwi. So we said iti in this one, but it's also Iwi as well. Imhotep in Weru Nu Abju, or Abydos in the Greek. So the translation, Brother Wujaru Iri Ma'at's translation, 2015, is there is said to him, welcome in peace by the great ones of Abydos. So this is the full, the normal full glyph representation of the HOTEP. So remember that this is a triliteral here. If you can see my arrow, and then you see the T glyph and the P, mat or chair. I think there may still be debate on what that actually is, right? So you can see where we're kind of welcoming someone to come in peace. That's the full thing. So I'm coming because to return, to come, and to return. So you can be coming to someone in peace, or they can be coming to you in peace or returning. It is to arrive and to come. They're both the same words in African languages. And so here's a last example, the iwi again, iwi hotep, which you can see here in this column. You see it here in this column right here. Iwi hotep. And then you see, Neferneter, Nebtawi, Merin in, and then some more stuff in there. But we just kind of focused on this little area right here. And I made the glyphs here so that you can see so you got a general idea of how it is used in terms of a greeting. And so don't let anyone tell you that Hotep is not a greeting. It is a greeting. It's just we say it in a shortened form today, when the full form is either Iti Hotep or Iwi Hotep, right? And so the inspiration for this particular conversation comes as a result of me providing this information, which you see on the screen currently right now. So when I posted this information, there were many individuals who had questions on how the word Hotep equates to the ciLuba Bantu consonant sequence of S and MB, right? So you know how I do when I present my comparisons online. I like to bold the consonants that are being compared and highlight them in red. And then in my third or last columns, I always give you the consonants or symbols that are mapped to each other between the languages. So let's deal with the first row here. Hatep, to set of the sun. To dwell, Hatepu, setting of the sun. Hatepi, an item of furniture. Hatepu, peace, contentment. So this is the noun, right? But Hatep by itself typically is a verb, which is why we have these other, an adjective, et cetera, et cetera. So, but sometimes it may be absent, and or there may have been like a change of vowels that aided in that process as well. So the dormant one, the resting one. So in ciLuba, the cognate is somba, to be seated, to sit down, to talk, to dwell, to retire, to rest. And then when it's nominalized by the chi prefix, it's true, right? So we have here the connection is that it has to deal with the laying down or the sitting down of something. So when you see Hatep here, to set of the sun, is or to dwell. So it's the same thing here. Somba, to dwell, to rest, to retire. What do you do when you retire? You lay down. To be seated, to sit. You put down, you sit yourself down. It's the going down that is the root, either to place down, or to sit down, or to place on something. And so that's how these words, so when we have this nominal ending here in Hotepu or Hotepwa, this peace and contentment, we've nominalized the verb, meaning the original meaning to sit, to place on, and it becomes the noun peace or contentment itself, right? And so we can see in the second row, Hatep, food offerings, blood, offering slab. That's the first images that HOTEP nature, God's sacrifice of divine offerings, divine sacrifice. HOTEP, cut up animal, butcher, cut off limbs. And so I equate it with ciLuba somba, to hunt, to fish. And we can even see in Egyptian this word tepi, tepiwu, fish, right? So I'm thinking that this tepi was originally to hunt, to cut, to, to fish, but then when it's nominalized, so you see that W at the end, this nominalizes just like this W nominalized the verb to become peace and contentment. This W nominalized a verb to become fish, right? So, and then we have HOTEP, harmful action or evil plot. Now, this is ironic that you have on one end, you have HOTEP meaning peace and contentment, but then you have another HOTEP that means harmful action and evil plot, which equates to ciLuba sambuka, transgress or violate, or to disregard, right? And so you notice in the HOTEPs column that I only have the T and the P highlighted in red because that is the root. The dotted H is a prefix on the root. And this is verified by the correlations here in the ciLuba Bantu language, right? So it's TEP. And that's why you can also see it here. So when you have sacrifice and wild catch, right? And blood, and also the kind of stuff, because it comes from a TP root, meaning to cut up an animal, to butcher, to cut off limbs, etc. So from this root, this causative root on the verb, to cause an animal to be cut up, to cause to butcher, to cause something to be cut, to make a cut, that becomes sacrifice, that becomes offering slabs, etc., with more prefixes and suffixes, right? And that's how this TP becomes harmful action, because it in one semantic direction, it refers to the initial food that was cut up and butchered and then given as an offering. But this act of being able to cut up something or to cut off limbs, right, can be is now used as a harmful action. And this is actually a dialectical variation of another word, which we're going to introduce a little, right? So here's some more. So this helps to prove that the SME consonant sequence in ciLuba matches the TP in Chicam, or in ancient Egyptian, and that TP is the root, right? So, when you come back, you can go through all of these, but I just want to highlight, first of all, that the T and the S sounds are not sometimes, they correspond internally in ancient Egyptian. They're often replaced by each other. So some words you'll see it be haseb, haseb, and then notice here I have, some people would call this ha'ab, to play, but it's zaba, saba. And we'll get into why that is the case in just a second. But I just want to blow this up so that y'all can see a little better and not try to read all of them, right? So when we see, TEP, a type of invoice or money or principal, TPR, financial principle or capital, it's related. See, these are the nominal forms, but the verb form is to buy, to get, and then chisumba, trade, musumbi, a buyer, a customer, right? And then in another variation, somba, to borrow, then sombesha, to lend, to rent, then kasombella, interest rate, consombello, interest on a borrowed sum. So all this is having to deal with finances. And then you have TEP, best, which equates to ciLuba and sambu, best, most, further, more, right? And then TEP, the word tep is actually used as a grammatical feature in the ancient Egyptian language as well. And so it's used to form the abstracts. But we know from the studies in Negro Egyptian that the abstracts derive from words that mean place, not the verb to place, but a literal verb. I mean, excuse me, a noun meaning a place that ultimately derives from a word meaning foot or to set down, which can also be a place. So that's why the word set, st, the throne that is in the word aset or wasir, it also is that glyph is used to mean, but that word set meaning throne derives from a root that means to sit. So it's the same thing. So it comes from to sit, to ground, to throne, to chair, to then it's used grammatically in it for abstracts and place. And it's the same thing with tep. And so when we nominalize that here, it becomes fields. But we put this plural on here. This could be the W for places or abstracts, or it could be the plural marker as well. You see, responds to ciLuba and Zubu, wailing, a house, an abode, a domicile, home, a hut, kazubu, a field, cell, a unit, because it's all, these are all places, right? So, you know, this is how you go about to demonstrating these relationships. So the word HOTEP is all over the continent. It's just that you got to recognize the sound evolutions, the related African language. So I want to go back to this this last row that you see here, right? So this last row, it has dotted H. For those of you who know how to rate the metanetra, this is lowercase a and then B. And it corresponds to Zaba or Saba, to play. Ancient Egyptian, in ciLuba Bantu, right? So they're both, these are cognates. So why did I include this here? That is because that sound, so if you go all the way to the top of the screen, you'll see the variation that I have here. So that grapheme right there is which top of the page. But this is the so-called, this is another way to write it when we're doing kind of linguistic work. That form is brackets, hand column here. And so in the D sound or the D grapheme interchange in Egyptian. So you have this sound, because there are a lot of scholars who believe that this was originally a D sound or a Z or a Ts sound, right? Which explains the correlations, the dialectical correlations between these terms, right? So so if you compare these, you see that this interchanges, this grapheme here interchanges with this grapheme, which we represent here as a D. So if this sound was in the reverse, we would consider that a glottal stop. And Sister Al-Kebla and mine, didn't know you was in the building, for your donation. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. And so you know that these interchange, right? And so this also makes one question the pronunciation of Ra, because it should be Ras or Ratza or Redza, closer to the Reth and Rath for king and leader in the Sudanic languages, right? And so, but that's another question for another time. But This sound also interchanges with Z and S. So here is a few, a couple of examples. So this zibish, zibish to drown, karat, karas to vomit, right? And so I discussed this in the ciLuba, Maweja, Yoruba, Orisha, and ancient Egyptian Ak texts in terms of these interchanges. And then, I cite as well who also noticed this, Pust in his what is that text called? Is it the vocalization of a dead language or the sounds of a dead language? Got this Camerzell article, but he discusses it as well. So, so just note that. So when we go back here and we see HOTEP to play, we know it is in the same context. All of these are what we call in linguistics a homorganic sound. These are homorganic sounds. In order to say T or S or this the or the tsa, you have to put your tongue in in generally the same area. The tongue just touches different parts of either the teeth with S, or the top of the ridge, the what we call an apical sound, the t t t, right, or in d or z. So that's why there's obviously a historical sound that they didn't have a grapheme for. So some of them, depending upon, what kind of prefixes or vowels, it forced them to pronounce it and spell it in a different way. So that tepu fields, that tep, the formation of abstractions, all is related to this word HOTEP ground, HOTEP garden plot meadow, because these are all places. It has to deal with the floor, the space, the place, right? And so this is why comparative studies is very important. So now we can verify these correlations in Chikan in that language like Yoruba, right? So that's how we get down. So getting back to HOTEP. So remember that I said that HOTEP, the root of it is tep. And the word tep is a word for head in the ancient Egyptian language. But actually, this is a derived term, right? And you can say tepi, he who is on, over, above someone or something, a leader or chief, a captain. Above, over, or on is used as a preposition. And so remember that HOTEP and things is to sit something, but you have to sit something on. You have to place something on something. We exist on Earth. We're not in outer space where there is no floor or ceiling. So when you sit down or when you place something on something, you place it on top of something. So that's how the word tep became head and top, right? And then with this I or J suffix, it becomes a verb again, or a different type of verb. So you say he who's on, well, this is the personal, he who's on above someone like a leader. And then above, over, and on in terms of this noun here. So in the Kalenjiin language, which is located in Kenya, and that is the home of our sister Emiket and her family, but she's of a different language speaking group or cultural ethnic group, the Luo, who speak the Do Luo language. But her cousins down the line, known as the Kalenjiin or Kalenjiin, I think I heard Dr. Sambu pronounce it like that, Kalenjiin, they have this word HOTEP as well. And so the root again is tep. And so they say tep si, meaning to place on top of, cause to be placed on top, or cause to sit down or to enthrone. So you see the semantics that we're dealing with here, cause to sit down, so that when we're saying cause to, that is because just like with the ancient Egyptian has a causative s that is prefixed to their roots. So they're saying cause to cut up an animal, cause to butcher, cause to cut off limbs because of this s prefix on the tip root. But the collagen, they have the s, which they pronounce c, is a suffix in their language, right? So tepsi, place on top of, or cause to be placed on top, or cause to sit down or enthroned. So that's how we know, for example, the set or throne glyph comes from a verb meaning to sit, and from the act of sitting or to be enthroned, to be enstooled, as we also like to say, comes the very word throne or seat, right? So tepi or tep, to stay, tep otun, to sit down, sit your black ass down, and then t eptun, Coptic, tep ngachiri, sit on a throne or chair, right? And so in the collagen language, they have a dialect difference in the bilabial plosives. So that is the P and the B. So the P sound, P as in Perry or purple, right, is what we call, right? So p, p, p. But in other dialects of the collagen language, they don't have P. So all the words that are pronounced in one dialect with P, in the other dialect, it is B as in boy, right? So in Kipkuich, Dr. Kipkuich Sambu's books, in his native language, they pronounce everything with a P. But if you go to the online collagen dictionary, all the words that you see here with P are replaced with B. So in on the online collagen dictionary, they have teb, to rest, to stay, to sit, timbes, relax, rest, teb or tibta, set down or set on the floor. So all of these are the same word. So it in ciLuba is somba, to be seated, to sit down, to talk, to dwell, retire, rest. Chisombello, living room, residence. Because to sit in a place, the dwelling place becomes a place when you put a nominal prefix or suffix on these particular roots. So I hope that, you know, what I'm saying is coming across clearly. And if not, please, well, I guess reserve your questions until the end. And so, before I go on further, I want to make sure that each of you do this. That is right. Make sure that you hit the like button. And for those of you who are new to the channel, you know, I'm trying to get to 10,000, 100,000, you know, subscribers and the like, so I can further interrupt the internet and start all kinds of trouble, scholastically, that is. And I can only do that with your help. So make sure that you like the video and subscribe if you have not, and make sure that you hit the bell if you do have subscribed, so that you can get the notices when we're doing this groundbreaking research, these pioneering research that we do on this particular channel. So getting back on topic. So hopefully all of this is clear for everyone. That we have HOTEP furniture, HOTEP, to occupy a seat or a throne that we mentioned earlier. So we can see from this to put on, above, over, or something. Then, with additional prefixes and suffixes, it can either be to occupy a seat or a throne or furniture, right? And so remember earlier that I said that the dotted H that we have in front of HOTEP is a prefix. Well, the Kalenjiin language proves that it is a prefix as well. So the full way that you would say it in Kalenjiin is katepi, to sit. Katepi injikcharit, to sit on a stool. So this is incharit, means stool, right? So they say katepi. And so when we're saying HOTEP, HOTEPi, we know that, this is the like. So tep is the root, as we can see in Kalenjiin and Egyptian, and HOTEP and katepi is the the three consonants is the three consonants in sequence give it this. So Zane Montego says my mic is a bit low, as a tad bit low. There's really no way for me to adjust the volume, and I'm really, really close to the mic. So if anyone else, if it's hard for you to hear, let me know. And Jehuti Ma'at says, if the H is a prefix, then is the O an affix in ciLuba? No, that's that. Remember when I don't know if you was here at the beginning, and but the form HOTEP with HOTP, variant of that is HATP. So that O and that A vowel belongs to the it's the following vowel behind the H sound in Coptic, but it is not itself like an additional prefix. So the various forms of Somba and Sombeli, it would just either be chi, ki, g. It'd be different kinds of prefixes that correlate to the H in ancient Egyptian. And for the Kalenjiin, it's ki, right? Which would more than likely for ciLuba would be chi or she, right? So in a nutshell, from the root meaning to sit, to place on top, derives HOTEP, meaning to be gracious, contented, pleased, to be at peace, become calm, to go to rest, etc. And for those who have the Faulkner Dictionary, you see those definitions on page 190. So how peace comes about, again, is to be calm, to sit, to be at rest, to be in our modern day, to be chill. My brother's chill right now. I'm just chilling. I'm at peace. I'm cool. There's no disruption in the waves. There's no disruption in the waters, right? So peace is a derived term from the idea of sit, be at rest, to be calm, right? And then from there, to be gracious, to be contented. So definitions are built. There's I should say this, that when we're dealing with words in languages, it is very rare that a word has a single meaning. Generally all words belong to a what we call a semantic matrix. And that semantic matrix altogether gives you the spirit of what the word means. And so that's what you see here, and why it has all these particular meanings. African Renaissance TV says Wolof Kheteb, to lay in. let me highlight that so the viewers can see, right? Sateb, I don't know how to pronounce that, but lay in, nestle, drop into conversation, be comfortable. Next, right? So you can see that it's not a simply an ancient Egyptian phenomenon, and I do these kinds of studies and these kinds of shows to help you understand that these ideas, these these particular phenomenon, these cultural byproducts or whatnot, were not only present in ancient Egypt, they're still present today in many modern African languages and cultures. And so when people like us in the diaspora, us Africans in the diaspora, gravitate not only to our West African history, but to the ancient Egyptian, it is because our cultures resonate with one another. And we're using the same terms. We're using the same semantics and the like. So this is why these kinds of conversations are important for us, right? And so he says it's a h sound. I hope I'm saying it right. H, maybe he could come on later and help us pronounce it. But I'm gonna continue, right? So what I want to do is still on that topic, but I want to read to y'all a kind of concept. So remember what I said, these cultural ideas, and in many instances the very same words just pronounced differently, are present all across Africa. So Hotep is an African phenomenon. And so what we're going to look at now is a different word, but it has the same meaning, and understanding this word with the same meaning can help us to add a more, in my opinion, precise definition than simply peace in that phrase, Etymology, right? So let's go. So we're going to be reading from an article by Philip Evangelista and Rosa Vieira, and it's titled You Must Have People to Make Business, Relations of Proximity and Small-Scale Trade in Haiti and in the Democratic Republic of Congo, right? So in the article, it's an online article. I'm just going to read, I'm going to read it all. So y'all just bear with me. In the dry season, between May and September, it is not easy to buy many gallons of palm oil. It rains seldom. There are less fruits on the palm trees to produce the oil, and the price increases. This prompted Ma Julie to turn to sources of nutrients. She began to rent land in another village to plant beans and sell them in the city. Unlike her home village, this was not a place where she had family and people. The first time she went to plant, she slept in the house of the owners of the land she had rented. The second time, the house was no longer available. So Ma Julie ended up sleeping in the house of Ma Tania, a young woman that she had met only recently. When I asked Ma Julie how she had begun to frequent this house, Ma Julie replied, I know how to relate. And the word that she uses, Nayebi Vanda. I make some food. I give a little bit of sugar to people. We get on well. In other words, when she says that I know how to relate, right? I mean, she has a certain character about her, and she knows that the exchange of food is what helps to build the relations. It's going to become important. So let me continue. I can relate navandi bien with anyone. You need to know how people behave. So the word that we're going to highlight here is this Vanda. So you see it twice here in this phrase, Nyebi Vanda and Navandi Bien, or good Navandi, or good behavior. This word is in this sense is used to mean to relate, but in this variation it means to relate, but it also means to have the good conduct, right? So she says you need to know how people behave, right? So the author continues, as we can see, Ma Julie uses the term Vanda, which has various senses in Lingala. Lingala is a Bantu language in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Matter of fact, it's a major trade language in that area. So many people use Lingala to communicate with each other, for because their native languages in other areas they may not understand. So two in particular are important. So that she's talking about the senses. So two semantic branches and senses. Two in particular are important to understanding the meaning of relating with one another. It can be used in the sense of dwell. So we're gonna substitute that word for tep or HOTEP, to dwell. Where do you live? O Vanda Wapi. Or where do you dwell? Where do you HOTEP? Right? And it may be said that knowing how to Vanda or relate also involves knowing how to live with the other. As Ma Julie makes clear, it presumes knowing how to share food and space. So remember, HOTEP is an offering that you share food with others. But HOTEP also means a space. That's why the word tep is used, is a grammatical, it becomes a grammatical morpheme for the abstract. The word for fields or ground or country, etc., becomes when it's grammaticalized, becomes the morpheme for the abstract in places, right? So we're seeing the semantics here in the same fashion. It's just another word altogether, but it has the same meaning, right? So as Ma Julie makes it clear, she presumes knowing how to share food and space, whether a house, a market, or a neighborhood. To some extent, it would even be possible to conceive the idea as knowing how to dwell in the other, because knowing Vanda Bien requires comprehending the other to the point of putting oneself in their skin, understanding the difficulties that the other person is facing. Vanda is also used to revert to the verb to sit. For example, sit on the chair. Vanda nakite. And actually that verb kiti, or that word kiti that means chair, is actually cognate with the word set, the throne in ancient Kemet, in the word aset. Right? And we can venture the idea that knowing how to Vanda, therefore knowing how to sit, knowing how to dwell, also entails knowing how to sit with the other, since the act of sitting is closely associated with conversation. So you see how these concepts are building on top of each other from one word. So when we read in the previous slide that Vanda was meant to relate, it literally means to sit. But the added nuance to it is to sit with someone, to have a conversation with them, or to sit with someone to exchange food with one another, to have a meal with somebody, to be in conversation. This is personal relations. So in other words, the language that we would use here in the States is to break bread, right? That's why when a man and a woman goes on a date, what is the first date that any man or woman who is interested in each other goes to? They go on a dinner date. Or they may go somewhere first, but the night may end in dinner. Because in order for us to get to know one another, we have to be able to sit down and talk. And so the best way to do that is to sit down and talk with one another over a meal. So I want to know how I relate to you, and we want to build our relationship with food. And then hopefully it may lead to some other kinds of relations, if you know what I mean. We're going to keep this program PG, right? So we're going to continue. In Lingala, and I'm reading right here where you see the arrow. In Lingala, for example, before starting a conversation, people will usually say, "Come, let's sit." Yaka tovanda nabiso. Or do you want to come over to the house? We can sit and chat. Okoya na ndako. Toko vanda, toko solola. Right? To sit with someone is to share a moment with an exchange. And this exchange very often refers to commercial activity, whether maintaining partnerships or creating new ones, right? So you see how the word here, to sit, now not only deals with interpersonal relationships, inviting people over to the house so y'all can sit and chill and talk, but it also goes to commerce. So let's go back a number of slides to all those definitions of what are they? Right? Of where it says a type of invoice, capital, or principal, right? And sumba, to buy, to get. Shisumba, trade. Musumbi, buyer, customer. Somba, borrow. Sombeshi, to lend, to rent. Kasombela, interest rate. Kasombelo, kasombelu, interest on a borrowed sum. All of this financial people, all this has to deal with commerce, money exchange, to sit down and talk with one another and exchange not only food, but food may be a currency in certain places. So you see that this idea of sitting to dwell or whatnot also deals with money. And so we see that even in this other context here with a different word. So they're using a different word, but it has the same semantics as the word HOTEP and TEP and SOMBA in Egyptian and ciLuba respectively, right? So now we're going to switch to a different article. And this is actually what I wrote in Aluja. No, this is in Nesubiti, right? So this is a paragraph that I wrote in Nesubiti. And so I wrote, because I'm dealing with the ancestor glyphs, right? And why the ancestors have seats. Why are the ancestors sitting on seats in the Meta Nature language? Right? This is when getting deep into African culture helps you to better interpret the information that we see in ancient Kemet, right? So I say the seat in African societies is a symbol of the primary location in the community where the spirit of the ancestors are virtually still making commandments and guiding the community. The seat is the landing place of the ancestors. The seat can be seen in many ways as an altar or shrine. In the Congo, a seat is used as an emblem of the ancestors being welcomed on the journey back to the community from the realm of the forest or the ocean. In Congo, they have a body pose or a gesture called Nuvuanda. Remember that word, Vanda, Vuanda, that we were introduced in the previous slides? This is the same word here, right? Which can be seen in the Kumina religious tradition in Jamaica, because people from Congo ended up in Jamaica. The word Nuvuanda means welcome to the ancestors, but has a literal a seat. So this is the information that I wanted to give you when I say that the word, the phrase Etymology needs to be it needs to have a deeper nuance based on the African evidence. Because Etymology saying come in peace really should be come have a seat. Please come have a seat. Because Hotep meaning to sit, to dwell. So you see there that all the phrases are welcome, come, and please come and have a seat. Come and dwell. So if they're calling on the ancestors or calling on the spirits to come take an offering, they're literally telling them to come have a seat. And this information, this aspect of the information that I got, you can get from this article called Nailing Memory. In Albert Chong's Photographs, Barbados. So this is Dr. Barbaro Martinez Ruiz. And we had him on this program before. And we were talking about when I did the dedication to Dr. Fukiao. So he knew Fukiao well. And we had him on the program. And so if you can go to this article and learn more about the please having a seat aspect of it. And thanks to Sylvia Stewart for her donation. I want to say thank you greatly. And it's very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Right? So this is why when you see, for example, this Sapesh or Shapes, glyph for a noble and the ancestors, right? So when you look for words for ancestors, you'll see the predecessors, the ancestors there, they'll have variations of this glyph with someone sitting. So that's why in ciLuba Bantu, somba, sit, sitting, to cause to sit, to live, resting, retiring. Chisombelu, living room, residence. Lusombela, where you sit. That's where their home is, the place where you sit. Sombela or somba, to talk or discuss. All from that same root. So remember how the word Vuanda to talk and chat, to sit and chat. We have the same semantics in among the Baluba. So insombelu, insombedi, how to behave, how to conduct yourself. And I gave it the definition home training, because the root has to deal with a home. In sombesha, sombelela, companionship, conversation, chat. You see how these concepts relate? So you're welcoming to a conversation. You're welcoming them to it, to how to eat, right? And you're literally telling the ancestors to come have a seat. That's why we have thrones. Why does a king sit on a throne? Because a king is a living ancestor. A throne is not a seat. It's not a chair like in the West, right? A throne is a shrine, because every time someone is enthroned, they are the representative of the founding ancestor that gave birth to that particular lineage, for which the king is just a living representative of. The voice of the ancestors. And when he sits down, on the throne, the ancestors are speaking through him. And this is why, like to be installed, you have to sit 3 times. And why the for example, the Ashanti Akan stools are the soul of the nation, because they literally are shrines. These seats are shrines, and you invite the ancestors. So statues are used in the same way. So the ancient Egyptians would call the spirit to dwell in the statue. And we do it in Ifa. We tell the spirits to come dwell in this space, to have a seat. So Itiwi or Iti or Iwi Imhotep, come have a seat. Come rest. So we can talk and exchange. Right? So I hope that makes sense. So now this is a lot shorter. So we're going to get on HOTEP, meaning sacrifice. And this is pretty easy. So remember, in here we got food offerings, blood, offering slab. So HOTEP, wild catch. HOTEP, nature, divine sacrifice or God sacrifice. SATEP, cut up animal, butcher, cut off limbs. Somba, to hunt, to fish. Right? It comes from a root tep, meaning to cut. And so SATEP, to cut up an animal, to butcher, to cut off limbs. And ciLuba is saba, to cut, or seba, weeding, cutting the grass, for example. But this tep here is also, remember I said that there's dialectical these words. So the T and the S sound interchange and or correspond dialectically with each other. And so the S sound derived from Z. So you'll see like in the Waterbush or in the TLA, Z, and that P becomes F, right? Which means that it had an H sound behind it. So that's how the P becomes F. So just like when we say Sophia, but we spell it Sophia, and it has the F sound. So it's the same thing here. So that's how tep, to cut up, becomes zeph, to cut up, to slaughter. Zephetch, to slaughter, to make sacrifice. Sefetchet, sacrifice. And it becomes the root of the word isfet, chaos, wrongdoing. And so the dialectical variation of that is HOTEP, harmful action or evil plot. And this corresponds to another word in ciLuba, tapa, to strike, to kick, beat a game, win, to gnaw, invade, hurt, mortally wound, to kill, to immolate. Right? And we know that the HOTEP dealing with sacrifice has to deal with a killing, because there are variations of this word even in Semitic languages. And so this book here, Ki Baruch Hu, edited, well, I can't see the authors. I know Chazan, Hollow, and it looks like Shifsaman. I don't have the book in front of me right now. But you can see from this text here, the author is William W. Hollow. And the chapter title is called An Ugaritic Cognate for Akkadian Khitpu. And so what we're saying HOTEP in Egyptian is Khitpu in Semitic. And so the root HOTEP is familiar in Arabic, Hebrew, and Aramaic in connection with slaughtering or hunting, and occurs already in Ugaritic. So you see hunting, let's go back. Somba, to hunt, to fish. You see how all this comes together? So let's go back. The root HOTEP is familiar in Arabic, Hebrew, and Aramaic in connection with slaughtering or hunting, and occurs already in an Ugaritic text in a specific context of sacrifice, of a sacrifice. We read in a prayer to Baal, a bull, O Baal, We consecrate to you a votive offering, O Baal. We dedicate to you the first fruits, O Baal. We consecrate to you the booty, O Baal. We offer to you a tithe, O Baal. We tithe to you. The word translated as booty here is HOTEP, comparable to the HOTEP pray of Proverbs 23 and 28. Given the context, however, the word may already foreshadow the connotation of a kind of sacrifice. That is surely the meaning of Akkadian chitpu, which occurs in monthly sacrificial lists of the late first millennium. Right? So, remember what I said earlier about the this symbol here, which we transliterate as the lowercase a, and how it corresponds to D and S and Z. Well, it also corresponds to T, which was to be expected because that's the voiceless form of the D sound, right? So in the Yoruba language, when we talk about, you have here dabo or dabu, offerings, or bu, offering. In B, we have HOTEP, food offerings, meal, boon. That word boon right there is essentially like booty, right? An offering meal. In the Yoruba language, we say ebo, sacrifice, offering. Then offering stone with this suffix, the nasalized suffix here. We transliterate with capital A for those of you who read and write metanetra. Memorial stone, altar. Hetepet, offering slab, offering. Wood zebet or wood setbet, meat offering. Seb, piece of meat as sacrificial offering. Sebu, food offering. Sebu, spoils. And I should say that the word shebo is also a word in Yoruba meaning sacrifice and offerings. So this would be the form here, shebo. But this sound is dropped or it becomes and becomes debo or excuse me, ebo in Yoruba, but it's zebo in Chikam A in this dialect, right? So Hotep, food. And so we have bo, to feed, maintain, to support, to cherish, to nourish, or to foster. And then when it's nominalized in Egyptian, it just becomes the word for food. We have obey, a knife. We have zephet, knife, sword. Tep, dagger. So we need to call the dagger squad the Tep squad, the HOTEP squad. Right? And then we have this fuller form in Yoruba, adaba, proposer, mover, suggester, one who attempts. Idaba, propose, motion. And then we have wadabo, plea, appeal. And that root is found in this word, separate, to appeal, to petition. Bow, to beat the mud floor of a house, a way of tidying up the place up, to wash slightly. And then it becomes that word wa'ab, to cleanse. Z'abo, purification. And when you talk about a wa'ab priest, right? And they actually have a cognate for that too. I just didn't put it here. And to T, is it T high? T high, yes. Appreciate, he says, appreciate the information, dua. Dua to you and special thanks to you for the donation. It is greatly appreciated. And so you know, you can see, so when you say HOTEP in terms of sacrifice, in the Yoruba language, we say ebo, ebao, right? And so this is a picture of a typical sacrifice, you know, that a Babalawo is giving. I don't know the context of this particular photo. I just snapped it off the net. And but you, just to give you a sense. So you see it's in a bowl, and he has this a pawn tray to do the divinations, right? And this is part of a ceremony. So HOTEP means Ebo. And so here you see the king Ramesses II making an offering to Horus. He's giving Ebo. Right? and it's part of this phrase that you always see, HOTEP di Nesut, right? And so here's a slab. I think we stole this one from Ujamaa as well. But you can see if you go to the top of your screen, the top right of your screen, and we're going to read the top row, basically. So this is the Su plant, but this stands for Nesu or Nesut, the king. But because of the honored, excuse me, the honored transposition, you put this first, but you read it last in the phrase. So this is the Hotep sign here, right? And this is D or Ridi, right here, this kind of triangle. And so it's Hotep di Nesut. So that's where the T comes in as the suffix for the suit king or Nesut king here. So Hotep di Nesut Wasir Neb Jedu, Netcher. So, the offering or the ebo given to the king, and Wasar, Lord of Jedu, the great Netcher here or whatnot. And then it's part of the great Netcher. So there's Netcher, and then you see the word great here. So it's, Netcher or Netcher the great Netcher, right? And we can continue reading, but this is it. So it's Hotep is a sacrifice, and the idea of sacrificing food, and then it becomes the word for the food itself that is given in a sacrifice, and it just becomes the word for offerings, that which is given during a sacrificial ritual, right? So all of these terms relate. So that's pretty much it, and no, that's a different set of slides. But so I will end it there. That was about an hour and a half of me acting a plum fool. Oh, wow. It's 151 comments that I missed. And I'm not going to be, yes, Sister MK, I couldn't get it out for nothing. Honorific transposition. And Sister Mika says, loving the information. And yes, again, thanks those who have donated, and appreciate your support, and this is what allows me to come here and provide this information to the public in this fashion. So what I will do is, I guess I will open it up to questions, and I haven't had people on in a minute, so I'm going to, if you want to join the panel, in the chat, and I guess I would have to be on, and who's calling me? Hold on. Brother Ben, I'm on the live right now. And yeah, and we talking about HOTEP and how HOTEP is cognitive. Come on the program and talk about elbows in the Yoruba tradition. All right. And just go on my channel right now. Well, I guess I can go into, I'm gonna go on the Facebook. I send it to you there. All righty, because it's also going to be plugged into the chat at the top. All right, so just in case of the program. All right. So that was our good brother Ben of the Masi Warrior clan. He said he's gonna come on soon, so let me find him in my Facebook chat. Make sure I can spell his name correct, Brother Njai. To join panel, and I put the panel link as well in the chat. So for those of you who have any questions and want to verbalize them, and or you just want to come on the chat and have a conversation, let me pause that. And I need to find the link. So I'm going to put it at the top. It's going to be posted. It's pinned to the top now. So if you don't see it, you should be able to see it. And thank you to, is that the same one? No, that's a different one. So thank you to African Renaissance for your donation and support for the channel. It's greatly appreciated. All right. And so let me see. So yeah, this is the opportunity to, if you have any questions or if I wasn't clear on something, please let me know. And or if we don't have questions until Brother Ben gets on and we could talk about elbows and the like. If y'all have any other, there you go right now. So I want to welcome to the panel, Brother Black Panther. I thought you was on your way to Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I know I didn't want to give you real location. Oh, well, I didn't want to give you real locations just in case. Oh, that Negro in Gambia, let's go. But nah. I got someone else in the building as well. So brother still on the road.
So
brother Son Jetty on the line. And so it's just Jetty today, Jedi. So welcome to the Mbongi.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
Okay, cool. Yeah. For some reason it's not connected to my car because it came straight over from the YouTube. So anyway. All right, peace to you, peace to Black Panther, peace to the panel. Yeah, HOTEP. HOTEP. So yeah, man.
Right. Well, hold on. I'm gonna bring you back in, but I'm gonna bring Brother Panther in. So I don't know if you were able to see. Well, you just said that you just got to the hotel. Sure, you saw the show.
I didn't see. I saw when you were going to do something, but and then when you called, I was just taking off from Senegal.
Yeah, I was driving, so I couldn't text you back.
Oh yeah, I was in the air. Yeah.
So so I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be a while. It seems like you got there quick. I'm sorry?
I said I actually just made a TikTok about this comparison.
Oh crap! I didn't want to go to the beginning. Damn it!
But yeah, it was it wasn't quick. It was about 2 days of travel. It wasn't quick.
Hold on.
Oh, hey, sorry. Hey, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna come back in so that my mic my car can get fixed. All right, sure, man.
All right, no problem. And Brother Ujawu is in the back. Chat to me. Add him in mix. Peace to Brother Ujawu.
Peace. Can you hear me?
Okay, then there we go. All right. Yeah, man.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Okay, yeah, good presentation.
All right.
I was checking out. I'm in the cut, so I was just in the cut, listening in. But off the top, I want to say something before I forget it. Is when you went over the seat part with the ancestors and the Shepses glyph, what I find interesting is the word retire. Like when somebody retires from their job, they fall back. Like the word itself means to draw back from something, right? And so, and if you think about it, an ancestor or a deceased person is a person that withdrew from life. This person that's retired, and the act of sitting or having a seat, that people say, sit down, like sit this out. And so you're kind of sitting on the outskirt, withdrawing back, retiring. So that just all came to mind with the seats and why the ancestors are always associated with these thrones or these seats and things of that nature. I just find it interesting. Peace, Son Jetty. Peace, Black Panther.
Peace, bro.
All right, peace.
All right, and I'm gonna go with in the line with one of y'all. So I'm gonna for commentary, Black Panther, and then Brother Sanjetti. We'll just round robin and let somebody else. I don't think they'll see this. All right, so yeah, so this part of the presentation, I simply was comparing HOTEP, showing that it derives from the sacrifice and offerings root from a word meaning to cut, and then of course to slaughter animals for sacrifice and for meals, and then how it builds from there on. And so I was just showing, for example, a few correspondences and showing how the word hut, meaning food offerings and meal and boon, except it correlates to the Yoruba sacrifice and offering, and show this image here, of a sacrifice. And so I thought of you, and although I could do it, and Sanjetti as well, because we're all in the same tradition. They do the floor on this if you want to say something on it.
That looks like Ebo Riru, which is a particular Riru we do with systems that have divination, whether they be Ifa or whether it be cowrie shells. But to the larger point, well, first I want to ask, is that dot under that H in HOTEP supposed to be there?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not the regular H. It's because we have 3 H when we transliterate: the dotted H, the H regular, and the H underline that we translate with a capital X. But yeah, that's how it is. And,
okay.
Normally I would use the other dots on the EBO, the other forms, but people aren't familiar with the IPA.
No, that's fine. That's
and the ow for the EBO. So EBO, so they can at least still read it and know what it means. But
that's the most basic. So EBO, or sometimes that dot under that O turns that into a O sound. So it'd be like EBO or EBO, just depending on the dialect. But basically means sacrifice. Just like the example you had with HOTEP. I found that really interesting when you said it on the phone, because you have HOTEP as in offering table, offerings, and Ebo, although we loosely use it as a sacrifice, it can also be an offering. It doesn't have to be a blood sacrifice. It doesn't have to be with an animal. It can be an offering as well. So I thought that was really interesting that they were cognates, because they serve the same function. When you talk about animal sacrifice, it's actually a different word. It's bibo, bibo, but the general definition for Ebo is definitely sacrifice or offering. So being that they just they are cognate, that is it's not surprising, but it's just something I never thought of.
Yeah, and that Bebo is just a duplication, same root. And there's actually another, and I don't know why I didn't put it on here, and I meant to. It's Shebo. That's another variation of the same word Ebo. And so that first syllable. See, the thing is with the Yoruba drops a lot of in the ancient Egyptian and related languages. And so, but yeah, that's what you see. So this is the form of Ebo that you were talking about, that the king is given Horus here. Ramesses II is given. So he's just given blood. It's not meat. It's just bread. But the thing he's giving an offering to. And then of course we have the HOTEP di Nesut, you know, phrase or Ebo. So when you see this, y'all don't say HOTEP di Nesut. Y'all say Ebo di Nesut. You know. And I think, matter of fact, y'all could say Ebo da Nesut. Because da means to give in Europe. So that would be the phrase, Ebo da Nesut. And I got to figure out if there's a cognate for Nesut. It should be. I'd be surprised if there isn't.
Yeah, that's real interesting.
Anyway, so brother Jetty, I don't know how much people to
All right. Testing. Hopefully the car doesn't give too much. All right. Hopefully the car doesn't give too much background noise. All right, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. I can hear outside, but you're fine.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Yeah. Overall, listen, man, that was a great presentation. A couple of points. Yeah. So we'll kind of start with a Brother Black Panther and giving eloquent explanation of the Ebo, that is done in the Shishin tradition. Whether you're dealing with Ifa, you're dealing with ritual worship, etc. And he gave that clarity. And of course, we see the cognitive with HOTEP, etc. Now, the sacrifice portion in the Yoruba tradition, will sacrifice typically a bird. And, of course, Brother Black Panther, myself, and many others have taken part in rituals of the like. And interesting because, the bird, you get the bird or the animal live, and then you have to, there are prayers involved, there's procedures involved. And then, of course, you cut the animal, and then eventually, you cook the animal, and then you eat it fresh. Now, when you do so, you're all of you are breaking bread in a sense. Okay, so you'll have other foods like that have to do with grains, rices, breads, vegetables, etc. And you're sitting down together, and you invite the spirits of the ancestors to be in the space with you. And all of these are key words in your presentation, Asar. Space, sitting, sacrifice, ancestors, etc. Dwelling together, sitting, resting among each other. And then we see the same thing when we look on walls in Kemet, where you see priests are cutting the hind legs of cattle, bovines. See that? You see it occurring with birds, etc. Even go to the pyramid text, there's entire rituals where these things are taking place. And in the formula, the Hotep Dinasut formula, if I can kind of do this off the top of my head, English driving, so it is an offering which the king gives to Asar Nebjedu, so or the lord or owner of Jedu, the place. the Lord of Abiju, so they say Abydos, uh, that he may be given a voice offering of bread, beer, alabaster, linen, bird. So bird goes first, bird, cow, cattle, alabaster, linen, and all good and pure things for which the nectar lives. To the spirit of, or for the spirit of, Inimaki or Imaket, and whomever that venerated ancestor is, and which follows Ma'akaru, true of voice, truly spoken, victorious, etc. And this is a basic formula. So any museum that you go to, be it the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Brooklyn Museum, one right there in Philly at the Penn Museum, there in Chicago, wherever you're at, more than likely you're going to see a stela that has that formula on there. So that concept is core in African concepts of living. Now, the last point uh, is in the Kemetic community, and I say Kemetic community, I'm talking about people who actually do practice and seek to reconstruct Kemetic tradition and relate it to modern African traditions, using modern African traditions to help us to reconstruct the Kemetic culture and use it for our purposes today in a pan-African, African-centered fashion. Uh, we know that Imhotep or Hotep was used as a greeting, but then, across the community, people have found a way to bastardize and misuse and desecrate the concept of offering and sacrifice by using it in a derogatory term, by calling people, oh, you're a Hotepper or you Hoteping, really just disrespecting really themselves and African tradition. So selected groups in the Kemetic community have said, okay, look, we need to get it. We don't want to be associated with desecration. So Heru Akra Samaj had offered an alternative, until we can get to a better place, Ankh and Ma'at, living in truth. That's an alternative. So there are some people who use that instead of greeting Imhotep as a response to the desecration that's been occurring. But with this presentation that you just did, Asar, shows the importance of the Hotep, um, what it is as a verb, as a noun, and how it is integral to African culture in general, and how we have to respect this concept by whichever African culture uses it. So, Pastor Mike.
Indeed. Brother Wujawu, did it?
Yeah, peace again. Well, I really can't really add too much to what was already said. My only thing earlier was it dawned on me earlier with that word retirement and the concept of retiring. And an ancestor is a retired living person. And now I do know in the past the reason why I even did that article that you brought up a while back was because Hebrew Israelites was trying to make it into a pejorative, negative thing. Hotepers, and they were saying it doesn't mean peace. Like they said that the Kemetic people, the Kemetics, are greeting each other with sacrifice or with slaughter or detrimental things, and so they didn't understand any of the stuff that you went over. So that's why I originally did it. But no, outside of that, I think it's good. And yeah, I think hopefully people watch this and just move on from that. Anybody who was doubting or had that in their mind, they could learn something. So that was good, definitely. And then also,
Appreciate it.
what you also showed pretty much all the time is the continuity or the overlapping in different communities across the continent. and that lends to the whole thing about the relationships between these concepts among people coming from a parent culture, they're from a parent language, and that ties into the whole linguistic comparative linguistic work that you've been doing. So hopefully people catch on to all of that.
Hey, I wanted
Indeed.
to make a
Go ahead.
point. Asar, could you put that picture back up when you had the Nisut making the offering to Heru?
See it?
Yep, I see it now. So making this offering
Okay.
to this deity. Now, you think that he's making this offering of bread in a manner in which he would not eat it?
Mm-hmm.
He's making this offering in a manner in which the culture specifies how it's cooked, how it's prepared, how it's seasoned, and that's how he's making it to this deity. And that's important because we do that in the Yoruba tradition to this day. When offering a bird or an animal, afterwards there is a process called yanle. Yanle is when you remove certain things from the animal and offer it back to the divinity after the initial sacrifice is made. Uh, I'll just use one of the things that is offered. If you're using a bird, the gizzard is offered. So we don't just hand
Mm-hmm.
the gizzard back to the divinity raw and bleeding and in its rude and natural state. No, we cook it, we season it. As we say in the South, we put some love into it. So it is offered in the same manner in which we would like to eat the gizzard. So this part of this African tradition is still alive and well
Yeah.
in Inner Africa because we are
And that point,
edible. Go ahead, brother. Sir.
no, I'm going to add on that point. This is why when we like set up an ancestral altar or shrine, that often we will put food on the altar, but it's not random food
Right.
that know that your ancestors ate while they were living, and like how they would eat it when they were living.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't put a cold pack of chicken
Right.
directly from the store, on your altar and,
Right.
and then
And it's
give it to
the same
grandma
with vinegar.
Rose.
Like
Yeah.
Ogun likes palm wine. So we wouldn't go get him Chardonnay. We would go get him what he want. He want palm wine. We
Yep.
going to get palm wine. And that's just a tradition that we still carry out.
At
And
least
I was
I
gonna
know there's
say,
a time delay. So
yeah, it's a
yeah.
bit of a delay. I was gonna say, and
Yeah.
standing on the shoulders of Wujawu's initial article with HOTEP, this was the reason why I wrote the article HOTEP N-word. I saw the same bastardization, and most people that was using it couldn't spell it, don't know how it was said, or the many definitions of HOTEP. And I actually use Ujawu's transliterations and translations in that article to show the many variations of HOTEP. So that was just me standing on his shoulders when I did that article. And as he pointed to when people were saying, well, they're greeting each other with sacrifice. Why is sacrifice only it's only in the mind of the person trying
But
to
they
dig at us that it's an animal thing. Sacrifice could just be you not drinking Coca-Cola for a week because it's tearing up your insides. Sacrifice could be you not going out at night. Sacrifice could just be, you not getting angry for a week. It's not always, an animal or something that, requires, blood. And that's just the ignorant person from the outside looking into our traditions, but wanting to harp on something that's, makes them uncomfortable because they're not familiar. So I just wanted to make those 3 points.
And if I may,
Indeed.
um, just veggie back on what Black Panther was feeling about, what we'd be getting from the Hebrews, his response, or stand upon the shoulders of Ujal's article in its continuation of us uh, giving clarification and standing on African culture and concepts. Um, the bastardization, it really speaks to the mentality that those particular people have um, at the time that they made. Hopefully, they've had a change of mind and have grown since that point. But to say that, oh, they're bringing self-sacrifice, etc. But it seems that what's in their head of sacrifice, they're associating it with killing and violence. Okay, but not killing in the sense of ritual sacrifice, but killing like murder kind of thing. That it kind of gives that connotation, in a failed effort
Mm-hmm.
to desecrate African cultures in general. Okay? Uh, so we have to keep that in mind. So I just wanted to, touch on that. And also, in the HOTEP Dignity Silk formula, in addition to, the bird and the cattle, or the kau um, term, meaning bull, and then apidu, that's the word for the birds, all those types of foods are also called HOTEP. So I think, sorry, you put that in several of your writings, So the objects
Mm-hmm.
are HOTEP. The act of offering
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice is HOTEP. And the platform in which the food or object offerings are placed upon is HOTEP. So you have this concept that spans across the objects and subjects inside of that entire process of giving back. And again, it was mentioned by Black Panther, that you taking certain body parts out and you go through a cleaning ritual. It's not sloppy, right? It has an order to it, and then you offer it back in a ritualistic fashion. So there's reciprocity that's involved in it. Well thought out, even in the Yoruba culture, tradition, Isheshe, Legba, and many in other African cultures. Any seating procedures, again, going back to the pyramid text, coffin text, various tombs, etc. All the evidence is overwhelming. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Mike.
What I have on the screen is, I'm not sure if this is the particular slides that I want, because I've done so many presentations on Ma'at, but the concept of Ma'at is another variation of HOTEP. And Ma'at also deals with, I'm going to have to find these slides, because you also like offer Ma'at. There's food called Ma'at. And what we have, I'm doing my comparison here between Ma'at in Egyptian or Chikam and Kikongo. So that's what you just see here, these variations. But you also have, just like how you have tep to cut up, to slaughter, et cetera, which leads to sacrifice, you also have mat to slaughter. which for Kikongo is lueka, to make a wound or something. But you also have ma, to present, offer, to make a presentation, right? And then you have ma'at, which is an offer. And the food, like there's words that have to deal with that. And I remember one even for cattle, and is it the one down here? It is the one I had. I got so many with my, but to kind of stress the at my eyes the same connotations as HOTEP and Vuanda in among the Lingala speakers, because when you say Iti Imhotep or Iwi Imhotep, my new translation in terms of a literal translation is to come and have a seat. But it should be interpreted as the interpretation of translation should be to come and exchange, to come and have a chat, to come in and let's break bread. It's the exchange. Because like when we're saying offering, we're kind of using these kind of new Western age terms. We're going to speak English. Like when we're talking about offerings, I translated ma'at in the offering, because remember these are all homographs in homonyms in many respects. So they're different words, like the HOTEP sacrifice, and it's a whole totally different word than HOTEP meaning peace, coming from the sit down. But because of paronymy, we kind of synthesize and build off of these words that sound alike. And so it's no different in the Yoruba language. It's no different in among the Baluba and the Bakongo speaking people, and the or Kikongo speaking people, I should say, the Bakongo. It's the same here. So when we talk about ma'at, I've defined based on some linguistic analysis as open-hearted sharing, because what you're doing is you're not just giving them food like they're homeless, like the spirits are homeless or whatnot. Like you see a homeless man downtown and you give them some food. It's an exchange. It's that you're inviting them to come to the seat, to come to the altar, so that y'all can exchange, to have a seat and have a conversation. And as I stated, and I know Black Panther, you weren't here for this part of the conversation. For the when they talk about let's have a seat, it is to have an exchange, not only in terms of money, in terms of conversation, we build and we relate. So the analogy that I gave Brother Black Panther during the program was, like any time that we go out on a date with a sister, the first date are always involve eating. You can't take a girl out on a date and not feed her.
You ain't gonna be dating
a
alone.
Date. Exactly. So that by sitting down and eating, y'all sit and dwell, y'all HOTEP, and y'all exchange, or y'all eat food. Y'all necessarily exchange, y'all eating off each other's plate. And that usually don't happen at first. Now, when y'all get together, your girl gonna be eating off your plate. It's just that's just what they, say they don't want nothing that you ordered, but then as soon as your food come out, they reaching over to your plate. But if she's a loving sister, she'll try to offer you something off plate. You want to, yada yada yada, right? So, but the idea is that sit down with someone to have an a conversation and to share a meal. This becomes the foundation of specs. Kimoyo is a tradition across Africa, not only in terms of building human relations, but the ancestral relations as well, because the ancestors were once human beings. That's why we feed them food that they ate, that we know that they ate at the altars or whatnot. We're exchanging food, inviting the table, the HOTEP to the ants, come have and eat with us, converse, dwell with us for the moment. Because for us, the ancestors aren't dead; they're just in another. Every now and then, we invite them to come have dinner with us in the same way that if they were living, and we were inviting guests over to the home. And so that's what I discussed in Umoja Volume 2 regarding Ma'at, and in this is applicable as well to the concept of HOTEP and how it plays out in ancient Egyptian records and in other traditions as well. But I'll start on screen now.
Yeah, that's interesting
And I haven't
because
been checking it. Go ahead. No, I'm just checking the chat. Go ahead.
okay, yeah, you can like me and the lady, we'll eat, or me and my daughters, we'll eat and share food, put two plates down, and you'll take a little bit of contents from my plate, put on her plate, and then some of the contents from her plate you put on my plate, sharing food. In fact, earlier today, my older daughter, before I got off of work, and I said, hey, you're gonna be ready by a certain time, and she says, Daddy, I want Ethiopian food. So I know that you would make fun of me, but like, man, Daddy always eating Ethiopian food, always eating
You
Ethiopian food.
you're a bad influence on your own child.
Hey, listen.
No, go ahead.
So when she told me I want some Ethiopian, I'm like, oh, you ain't said nothing but a word. So I picked her up, and I took her to the Ethiopian restaurant, Kafa, right there in Philly, and the server asked us what type of plate do we want. Do you want separate plates or the family plate? My daughter opted for the family plate. So, I'm shaking my head like, she's learning. Okay. Uh, and then I told her the story of, when I took her to Philly when she was 2 years old, took her to the Penn Museum, and I shared with her that was one of the best days of my life. And then after the Penn Museum, you know, I took her to a different restaurant. So the one that we went to today, I told her that this is the restaurant I brought you to when you were 2 years old. So first time she had Ethiopian food with the injera, etc., she was 2 years old. And I said, this is where you were at. She just like stared at me like, okay. Like, yeah. And, and she took some of the, injera, scooped up some of the red lentils and fed it to me without me prompting. And I'm like, okay, she learned. So we had HOTEP today. And
Yep.
Also, real quick, I'm
And
sorry.
I got nothing
So,
much. Go ahead.
okay. So at the Temple of Anu, we have a biannual tradition that we do, that we adopted from a ritual, Kemetic ritual called Henek Ma'at, where you'll see a similar image as what you show with Usma'at Ra, Tepera, or Ramses II, where he was offering bread there. But in this ritual, it's called Henek Ma'at, presentation of Ma'at. So you'll see the king having an image of Ma'at in the hand, the same way that bread would be, and offering that to the nectar. So we adopted that and we utilize it. So that's actually coming up early next month, in which we have a ceremony, and part of that is sharing food. So, mhm.
that's how I've come to understand, based on a linguistic analysis, that aspect in terms of offerings and to offer and to present comes from this notion of to extend your arm and to share food. And there are other, words that are separate, but like to kill and to slaughter and things and sacrifice, that just like in any other African tradition, because the words similar became linked. So like all of these terms from a point, but in each one of these traditions, they all merged in a way, which tells you that there's just a common thinking pattern. What Mbongi calls semantics, and but I wanted to say about this post I have here, and he says to head and then tep means something akin to chief or top. There's two different words. There's place, image, and this meaning manner or method is a word, and then which becomes a derived word, a derived meaning word head, meaning chief or leader or whatnot. I think Ujawu was in conversation. Did you want to say anything about that? Ujawu? And you're on mute still if you're there. He may have went to get him some HOTEP and be back later. But I didn't see too many questions. So I know I didn't explain everything that well that y'all just got everything. But outside of that, anything else come to mind? What's on y'all mind? What's going on? We ain't had this group in a minute. So, well, I'll do this.
The rumors gonna start.
What's bringing you to
TMC? They're gonna say the Rock Squad getting back together. I seen them on the live.
Indeed. But tell us why you in Gambia.
Oh, why am I in Gambia? Well,
aka Zimbabwe. Just in case.
No, aka Wakanda.
Like they did.
That's where
like
I'm
they did Malcolm
Wakanda.
Back in the day. Wakanda. Go ahead.
I'm here because my father was born here. So it has always been a dream of mine to return to where my father grew up and where was born. As I discovered tonight, I have a lot of family here, more than I even knew about. When I arrived at the airport, it was something out of the Coming to America scene when the guy said, "Oh my goodness, it is you." It was something out of that. There was a lot of people that have been anticipating my father's sons and daughters to return, and my oldest sister lives here, and she has children, and they have children, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of family here that we some of them we've only talked online. So I wanted to rectify that. I'm also here to go to Sister Ladosha's rights library here in Gambia with the Gaye Njoru Academy, which myself and Kofi Paisai research team sponsor in scholarship. So I'm here to build that bridge as well. So I'll be dropping by soon. I'm also here for research as always. There's some historical Senegambian sites of the old Jollof Empire that I would like to see, and I will be going by to check out. And other than that, man, I don't need another reason to go to Africa. I always want to be here. I'd stay if I could, but at this point, that's not a reality. But we work toward that goal. So, it's a blessing to be able to be here, and I'm gonna maximize my time while I'm here.
With Dr. Issa, and come to find out y'all cousins. I'm letting you know that.
Here we go with the Dr. Issa stuff.
But since it doesn't seem to be, any questions, I'm not going to make the video too long. So I just want to say that I appreciate each and every one of you for listening, and then thanks to the original folks who were asking questions, which spawned this particular video. When I posted that image with the comparisons. So hopefully if y'all were able to watch that, I explained myself well enough, and you can kind of see where the connections come in and what's the expanded discourse. And so thanks to each and every one of you who again were listening, and especially those who
Okay, I'm back. You can't end yet. You can't end yet. I'm back.
Appreciate it.
Now let me stop.
Oh,
he was over there. He was making elbow, HOTEP. And,
I was making elbow, HOTEP.
I was made an elbow, and he was the deity.
Yeah, I was applying all three aspects of HOTEP. I did the sacrifice, I did the fixing, and I ate. And I sat down. And retired. I did everything.
Oh snap! I'm on the show.
Yeah,
man.
But
you should have demonstrated all of that on camera. You know what I mean? With food, safety, and everything.
Yeah. No, I'm just messing.
I want to do that. I want to, if I could, and that'll be a good one. So I have to find me some people who is willing to allow me to videotape, a basic sacrifice, saying some elbow in the tradition. I know I could do it if I was back home in Texas, but I don't know too many of the EFI community out here, but I'm pretty sure I could find someone. Hopefully come down to the Carolinas when the Panther returns. But and so because what I want to start doing is showing some ancient Egyptian concepts, and then show in the traditions the same thing, and not only in terms of the concept itself, but the actual words, like we did with HOTEP, and and Ebo and Shebo in the Yoruba language. And so I think that would be a good series. But I want to give the opportunity. So I said thank all of the watchers, thanks to people who donated, and of course I want to thank my panel, each of you, for coming on and giving your input regarding the show topic. So I want to end it with a comment from each and every one of you. So I'll start off with Sanjetti. I'll go Black Panther next, and then end with Ujamaa.
All right. So an added lesson to this is all powerful people make Ebo. All powerful people make Hotep. They make offerings to their ancestors. And if you want to empower yourself, you do what powerful people do. You venerate, you make Hotep Ebo to your ancestors. And that is extremely important. And those who worship the ancestors and give Ebo and Hotep to other people's ancestors, or the ancestors of the people who abuse them, then they disempower themselves. So for you to re-empower yourself, you have to enact, engage, and do Hotep, do Ebo to your ancestors. That connects all the way back to the oldest ancestor, which is the creator. All right. Great job, brother.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Brother Black Panther. You see the comment?
I do. And trust me, I've already had what they call the jollof fish. If you ain't had it, it's delicious. And I will be having jollof rice tomorrow. So I'm definitely going to cash in on that. As always, Alafia Mandala Bibi Fahudie, health, power, and African liberation. So Jetty, he hit on a great point that all powerful people do some form of ebo, some form of sacrifice, some form of offerings, and I will take it a step further. Of all powerful people make ebo, sacrifice, and offerings to their ancestors. Whether they immortalize them on dollar bills and fives and 20s and 100s, whether they build Mount Rushmores to them, whether they immortalize them in text to where you are forced to learn about them in schools, they all make these offerings to their ancestors. We got our way of doing it. Other people got their way of doing it. So Ebo, Hotep, appeasing, offering, sacrificing, venerating is a part of our tradition and other people's traditions. So it can't just be a problem with African people do it, because everybody does it. So just want to leave that on the hearts and minds of the people, and that's what it is. Yeah, that's what they call jollof rice here. Benachin. That's what they call it.
And yeah, Orleans. It's simply just called jambalaya.
Facts.
We bring it all. If I that's gonna be my mission. If I find jollof rice or jambalaya in the meta nature, it's a wrap. It's
you let me know when you do.
The whole is doing the nature. Let me find out. All right, Brother Ujamaa.
Yeah. Well, in closing, I don't have anything much to add. Good presentation as usual. I just hope that people will watch it and have some takeaways, some to-go boxes and takeaways, and look into these things further. And that's pretty much it. Look forward to the upcoming book so that we could finally make some headway with this topic in terms of meeting a place named Kemet. So yeah, that's pretty much it. All I have to add. Yep. And good to see Sanjetti Black Panther. Um, Again, we need to do this more. We need to actually build. We need to actually come together and do some builds together
Yeah.
more often, because I get that. So I get that people inbox me and ask. They ask, when are y'all gonna do that? Especially with me, you, and Sanjetti Asar,
Mhm.
because of the topic, because of the book we did together. But all four of us should do more of these presentations or have these discussions, maybe even open discussions. Let people just blitz with questions, because see, we seem to kind of be out of the years, of whether the Amara squad or not, out of the years, we seem to be on the same page the majority of the time with in and out of these issues versus others. And so we have a synchronism between us, and our focus and our studies overlap. So I think it'd be really good for people to experience that, be able to ask questions or learn, or we could learn from them. So anyway, that's my take. That's my closing remarks. That's it.
Hey,
Speaking
Asar.
of, hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
While we're talking about books, Black Panther just released a new book, and can you tell us what the book? And that's why I was calling you, to see if you had any on you, because I was going to buy from you directly. But it looks
I
like I'm
do.
going to have to.
I do have some, but of course I can't send them to you right now.
Yeah.
But
So I'll just wait till you get back. But yeah, tell us about the book before we go.
the book is called "Is African Spirituality a Religion?" It goes over our spiritual practices. It goes over what religion is according to different religious scholars at the Pew Institute and others. And it goes over the several categories that religions fit into. Uh, and when someone tells you, African traditions and culture, that's just another religion, you have to ask them, what category of religion do African traditions fit into? Is it monotheism? Is it polytheism? Is it animism? Is it pantheism? And there are so many others that we never talk about, but they're categories. Uh, and we have to be very specific when we answer these questions. I also go into some traditions and spiritual uh, practices of Africa you probably never heard of, uh, and go over some that you have. And I answer the question, is African spirituality a religion or not? So that's my latest text, my first solo book, so to speak. Um, and it's going to be an introduction to my larger text that's going to drop next year, when it's called African Spirituality, in parentheses, Kimoyo, for the African diaspora. And that will be my larger text. But this text introduces you to the arguments that have been made, introduces you to where we are placed via the Pew Religious Institute as far as religion is concerned in the world. And the information that comes out of that conversation is vital to understanding uh, how they categorize us, why they categorize us a certain way, and what should we categorize ourselves according to how our ancestors saw things. So that's my book. You can definitely hit me up for a copy. Definitely send it to you when I get back in 2 weeks. Or you can go to Amazon and buy it. You can go on Barnes and Nobles and buy it. You can go on Lulu.com and buy it. Just type in, BLAKPANTHA. Is African spirituality a religion on any of those sites that I named, and you will find it. You can always find it on SameTreeDifferentBranch.com, which is our publishing company that comes from the Mossy. And I appreciate the support for everyone that has it, and for everybody that's thinking about buying, support your boy, man.
Already. And I want to address this. What you talking about, Sister Mo? You got books? You wrote a book and ain't tell nobody? Because I don't have your book if you got it. Or whatever.
Sister Mo, I wrote you on Instagram a while back, lending my support for your veterans initiative, and you left me on red.
Oh, that's a Sister Lamb is just busy. That's all it is.
Left me on red, man. That was cold.
Yeah, I gotta inform me of certain things. That's one thing I make sure that I do is support my peoples. Uh, she say, "Oh man, I better go check." How you go check? That was 3 years ago.
I ain't gonna tell
That he
you.
sent that
It was
message.
almost time ago. It's almost a year ago now. Because it's when I first moved out there.
That ain't shame. See, Mo, this is why we can't rise as a people.
Because I knew she had something. I think it was in South Carolina. It was close, and I was like, "Well, shoot, I'll drive down for that." Nah, I'm in North Carolina, but I'll drive if it's an event you having, and you know it's on the weekend or a Friday, and I can get away. I'll pull up. You can ask anybody. I'll pull up.
Already.
Pulled up on the saw in Detroit.
So did. And leave it alone. Well, brother Sanjetti, you was about to say something?
Oh man, yeah, I don't forgot. It's all good. Hey man, listen, this is a good bill. I agree with Wujao. Yeah, we definitely got to do this more often. And to the listeners looking at now and in the archive, I want you to notice the civility of the exchange. It's not a bunch of yelling back and forth, slander. We're not doing any of that. It's information, and from the presentation from our brother Asar, again, excellent execution, and then the commentary between Asar and myself and the other two brothers. It's addition and mature conversation, with the intent, of civility again, and offering to you knowledge, information, things that you could use, and things for you to make cognitive connections on which you in your own life experience, your day-to-day experience with ancient cultures in Africa, with modern day cultures in Africa, at least, in seeing the unbroken circle that we experience consciously and subconsciously. And hopefully that this exchange that we have here serves as a reinforcing example of how Black men should have exchange, whether they agree or not. And for you to see more of I think you might have used the word like syncretism, don't recall, but somewhere around those lines, of how we overlap, we're able to overlap. So we're all on the same page, but we can grab different paragraphs from that page and add it in to complete the page, so that people could continue to read the everlasting continuous book, of knowledge from African thought.
Indeed, and it just reminds me of, the aspect of the conversation where I was talking about Rwanda out of Haiti and Congo, and how it means to literally to have a seat, but to exchange and to be able to chat and dialogue, and how that same root, that same concept exists in Egyptian, and that on one level it means to be peace and calm and civil, And I remember reading, I believe it's either in Malidoma, in one of Malidoma Some's works, or it was in one of the works by Griole dealing with the Dogon. But it's, you know, most African spaces have a kind of a center of the village where, you know, the elders and community people come to speak about issues about the anything that's, you know, dealing with the community and society at large. And so, but they have it, the construction is either amongst the Dogon or the Daguerre people, to where it is low. You can't stand up in the building, right? Everything, you are forced to sit. And the reason why they said that they made it that way is so that it keeps civility when everybody is sitting down. And you can't stand up, like you'll stand up to try to attack somebody and bump and hit your head and end up injuring yourself. So to keep things civil, everyone has to sit. And I think that in many ways is connected to the conversation that we're having today. I need to find that quote. It's always in the back of my head, and I can't remember where.
It's amongst the Dogon for sure. It's called the Toguna.
Yeah. Exactly. So, you know, but with that said, you know, all good things must come to an end. And Sister Mika said the after show is going to be at Jawu's channel. I don't know if that's true, but I'm going to leave here, and I'm gonna see what y'all doing on the net. And if anybody has a show or something later on, I'll be sure to check it out. So thank each and every one of you for listening. Again, thanks the people who financially supported today, and thank my panel, Brother Black Panther, Brother Ujawu, and Brother Sanjetti. And y'all have a blessed week. Hug your loved ones, tell them you love them, and y'all continue in your studies. Until next time, HOTEP, peace.